Happy Devils Wednesday. It is July 3rd. This is the State of the Fan Address, episode 11 on the Let's Go Devils podcast platform powered by Nova Product Design on the Primetime Radio Network. My name is Sam Wu, your host tonight, along with the Pucks and Pitchforks chief editor extraordinaire, now podcaster. Now we're going to get in a fight with Nick Villano. Nick, how is the Pucks and Pitchforks land powered by Fansided doing tonight?
I mean, first of all, I'm just going to add chief to all of my titles in my life. You know, I am, the chief fiance to my girl. I'm the chief, everything that I do in my life. I'm the chief cook when I make dinner. I am, everything I do is now chief. So thank you for giving me a great idea.
Yeah, you know what, Chief? It's a big topic tonight. By the way, we are streaming live on Facebook Live, Facebook.com, at Let's Go Devils Podcast, on Twitter and Periscope, at Let's Go Devils Pod. Again, it's at Let's Go Devils Pod, 15 characters or less. We're also on YouTube Live, YouTube channel, Let's Go Devils. And we're on Twitch. We are gaining users. They're not listeners or viewers. They're called users because I get the emails on Twitch. I think we have a total of 14 now. I'm not sure.
Ooh.
But, yeah. But also, we don't encourage watching and driving. You can also stream us live on letsgodevils.com right now. The audio stream. Again, it's dangerous. But yes, tonight, right before the 4th of July, Nick Villano and I, we talked about it. We said, should we stay consistent with the State of the Fan Address on Wednesdays? Even though it's right before 4th of July? Of course, because we got a burning question for you Devils fans. Should the Devils trade for Nikita Gusev? Is that how you pronounce his last name? Gusev?
Sure.
Gusev.
It's Russian.
Gusev. The goose. Hey, the goose.
Goose.
That sounds goose. Sounds like Moose. Moose Hedberg, right? Or Rebecca Moose Moore.
It worked out fine, I guess.
Her. Yeah. So he is the big topic on social media, and this is why we started this State of the Fan Address with Nick and Pucks and Pitchforks and Fansided. Is we want to know what the fans think. We want to know what they're thinking right now, because I'll tell you, I haven't seen this kind of hysteria since Miroslav Satan back in the day, because everybody wanted him, I think, back in 04 or 05 after that year lockout, right? I mean, it would have been awesome. It would have been awesome if Paul Ranger actually went to the Rangers, that kind of thing. I'm only talking about names, not the Rangers, but just the kind of the names and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so Nick, I'm talking a lot right now, but let's get straight to it. Should the Devils trade for Nikita Gusev?
I mean, I think that it's a win-win proposition. I mean, Gusev is supremely talented. He's not going to cost a ton in a return. There's a lot of talk about a lot of teams that are bidding for this guy, and sometimes these bidding wars can turn into overpaying for somebody. But I think if anybody even gave Vegas a remotely good offer, I think they would have taken it already, because this is a guy that they got for free after the expansion draft. Tampa Bay Lightning actually originally drafted Gusev in the 7th round, and they gave Gusev to Vegas so they wouldn't take on Sadar Kokek and another defenseman prospect, both of which are actually not with the team. We went through that in the Monday podcast when we kind of glanced by the Gusev rumors. It's kind of funny because this guy wasn't a guy that it was even on my radar, and I put everybody on my radar. We did the Pucks and Pitchforks pipe dreams. I was talking about Erik Karlsson and Patrick Laine and like the big names, and we talked about the small names. I talked about Anton Stroman. I talked about a bunch of different players, and Gusev wasn't a guy that was on my radar. I think mostly because I thought it would be an easy signing for Vegas. I didn't think he was ever going to become available because they just signed him to the 1-year deal right before the playoffs. I didn't think they did that just to gain his rights so they could trade him. I also didn't think he was going to command this much money. I didn't think that he was going to go. He was looking for $4 million a year. So. You can get some good players. Panic just went to the Capitals for $2.5 million a year, and he's a good player. So, but the upside is 100% there for Gusev, and there's talks that the team that's going to have to take Gusev is also going to have to take David Clarkson's contract, and that provides a lot of issues for us because Clarkson's right now is in a taxless state, and he's basically just collecting money. Obviously concussions in his career.
Hey! You want to talk about money? There is nothing wrong about collecting money. And if Mr. Clarkson has some spare change, he can always make a contribution to the Let's Go Devils podcast network so we can have these podcasts. Because we have the ultimate dream of buying a $35 million private jet to take our fans and ourselves on the road to Devils games. Sorry, I had to plug that in there because that was a total setup by you unintentionally, and I had to take advantage of that. But anyway, keep going.
I can't even say anything of that except for the fact that you said that was a $35 million jet.
Yes. I mean,
ironically enough, when David Clarkson left us to go to the Toronto Maple Leafs, he signed a $36.75 million contract, so he could give us the $35 million to get the private jet, and he could keep a little over $1.5 million for himself.
To tell you the truth, I don't think he's going to be doing that. But hey, if he could at least contribute to, jet fuel, I'm sure that's expensive. Hey, that's fine with me. And maybe a couple parachutes because
or maybe you'll buy a couple shirts.
Yeah,
buy a couple Let's Go Devils podcast T-shirt with that gorgeous logo in the red and the green and the black. Gotta have the black. I have the black. I love the black. Anyway, moving on. Enough plugs for that for now. Yep. But the problem is that Clarkson's contract is currently, it's fully guaranteed. He's going to go out on long-term injury reserve, and he's just going to sit back and collect a paycheck. But if he goes to New Jersey, that paycheck dramatically goes down because he has to start paying state taxes. Right now, he's only paying federal taxes. So, and he has a no-trade clause. So why would he accept a move to New Jersey when it's just going to cost him money? So this year he's making his actual money salary is $3.25 million. Okay. So, if he goes to the Devils, he's probably going to lose, off the top of my head, I'm doing the math, I'd say about $500,000. Would you do that for no reason? Would you accept that?
What, from David Clarkson's point of view, or from
Clarkson's point of view?
No, I mean money's money. You have to pay your agent, your marketing team. No, you're not going to be making any more of those big bucks. You might as well take what you can get. Milk it, David. Just milk it. Get as much money in the bank, and then if I was Clarkson, now does he have a no movement clause or no?
He has a no trade clause and a no movement clause. So his no trade clause is modified, but I would have to imagine that it's modified to go to Tampa or Florida or Dallas, other no tax states, because why wouldn't you? But the other side of that And the way you could kind of talk, Clarkey into this is the Devils could show Clarkson what they did with Ryan Clough, who was in the same exact position. He was getting paid $5 million to sit on the bench. But instead of just, doing what they did with Mark Savard, who was just a guy they traded for to get a second-round pick, they could treat him like Clough and put him behind the bench. Have Clarkson be a coach. And then you can show him that it worked for Clough, where Clough got a head coaching job. Obviously, it didn't work out as well as we hope because his concussion issues actually sprung back up. But either way, you can show that, hey, this works. We could get you into coaching, and maybe that'd be worth it to lose the $300,000 to $500,000 that he would lose. But beyond the point, let's get back to Gusev. Let's get back to why this kid is good. Now, a lot of people are comparing him to Artemi Panarin. We had to calm down. He's not that good, but he's going to be at least a middle six guy, easy. And that's me downplaying how good this kid really is. He led the KHL in scoring last year. He had 82 points. He had 17 goals. He could shoot, but he's much better facilitator. He had 65 assists. And then he was even better in the playoffs. He was dominant. He scored 19 points in 18 games. And then the reason why we really need to like him is because it's how well he did in the World Championships, scoring 16 points in 10 games for Team Russia. He's a risk. I'm not going to say he's not a risk, but, you only have to take a 2-year gamble on him. He wants 2 years, $8 million total. You have to give up. I mean, it depends on what the trade looks like at the end of the day. If it's just Gusev and Clarkson, maybe you give up a prospect that's not working out.
You want to know something, Nick? This is what I think. I hate to be a Scrooge, but
God.
Ray, you gotta save your money. You gotta save your money. You do not need to add a little bit of an unknown. I personally do not trust KHL stats, nor do I trust. Well, I do trust some highlight videos. I mean, they do show some skill level. They'll, this and that. But I particularly do not trust anything from the KHL. And let's name some former KHL players like Ilya Kovalchuk, bolting. I don't like players bolting and playing in Russia. I can understand if you're from Russia, but at the same time, this is the NHL. I wouldn't invest $4 million in this guy, or $5 million, maybe $2 million, but it's going to be a high risk, high reward. What do you have to give up for this guy? I don't know. Right now, the New Jersey Devils, I like what's going on. I like Ray Shiro's approach of playing the percentages, and this is probably the analytics people, unless they have some kind of analytics on this guy that we don't know about. I think he's too much of a risk. I think that, and somebody commented that the Pucks and Pitchforks blog doesn't like to take risks and all that. No. The Pucks and Pitchforks blog dives into both sides of the issue. I know Mike Lucci doesn't want him. He can also explain, the economics of the Clarkson thing. He can explain a lot of things. But the one thing I don't like about this is you don't have to do it. Why do you have to do it? Why? Because the Rangers just had a big signing? Which, by the way, talk about cap circumvention. I mean, come on. I mean, the Devils got nailed for Kovalchuk, but come on. Like the Flyers, remember that Pronger deal? Nobody
else. And the Luongo deal too. The Luongo deal was some circumvention if I've ever seen it.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, So I just looked at some advanced stats. So this
Lorenzo.
So basically,
Lorenzo writes high risk. Really? Do you really know if this guy is going to have an impact, or is he going to be a dud? The Devils have all the momentum right now. They don't need to make this move. Sometimes less is more.
less wasn't more last year. We did less, and we got a lot less. Less was less last year.
No, we got Jack Hughes out of it. That's more.
Okay, yeah,
in the end,
you're correct.
In the end, okay, because they overachieved the season before. They're on a high note, but Taylor Hall got hurt. A lot of players got hurt. Corey Schneider didn't know how to stop a puck for a year, or let alone win. But once that winning started to come, the Mackenzie Blackwood, this and that. Yeah. But to get back to the point, I don't like it. You don't have to do it. Look at this lineup. Look at the projected lineup where, okay, you fit this kid there, but what happens down the road if you have some of this cap space taken? I know he's got some room, but let me tell you, Ray can pull off, excuse me, Ray can pull off some great moves just by having that cap space, that extra space, because he has the leverage. So think about that, but and also think about a few years down the road when he has to sign some of these players.
Yeah, but he doesn't. He doesn't have to sign this. I mean, we're talking about a 2-year deal right now. We're talking about 2 years with this guy. You're just taking a shot. What do you have to lose on 2 years? $4 million. That's look at that's Brandon Tanev money that the Pittsburgh just locked their horns in him for 4 years. Do
you know what the Devils need? Honestly, they just signed the Wayne train, but you know what they need? They don't need this Gusev guy. They need beef.
Hey, where's the beef?
They got plenty of beef.
Where's the beef? What?
No,
you know what?
See, this isn't.
They got
Sam.
skill
I need you to get out of the 90s. I need you. We won our titles there. We did it. It was great. But I mean, you're like Lou Lamoriello running the Flyers or running the Islanders right now. It's. I need you to come into 2019.
Yeah, but you want to know something? Lou Lamoriello made it a playoffs after John Tavares left. Yeah, he got a great coach and Barry Trotz. I mean, that fourth line, and I said to myself beginning of last season, when that Clutterbuck line, I said to myself, gee, is Lou getting too old, or is this still relevant to have that grit? And you know what? They got through the first. They swept their way into the second round. Now, after that,
what happened after that? How many total wins did the Islanders have?
All I have to say is Tavares lasted Game 7, Round 1, and the Islanders lasted longer. And then the season was over. They won their Stanley Cup. That's the way I view it. I know, but this is why. Is it logical? Does it make sense? This is why we call the State of the Fan Address, because I'm a fan. That's how I think. I also want to ask Facebook Live, Twitter, Periscope. There's a lot of people talking. Take the risk.
People are talking.
People. I mean, this is the most commented podcast in the history of Devils podcast. People are commenting. People think I'm a loser right now. All right,
Sam, we got 54 comments already. We got 54 comments already. People are hyped about Gusev. They want the goose. But they want the
thing
goose.
This is Twitter. I can't even keep up with some of the Twitter comments because they just flash. They don't archive or stay. And I'm also looking on YouTube Live right now. Gusev to the Devils. Nikita Gusev says his name is Five Gum. Okay. Then I'm looking at Facebook Live. Here's another phone. Like, I have so many phones. Like Facebook Live. I mean, I just can't keep up with the comments. But you know what? Tonight, I came here to express my opinion. It's all hype. And secondly, you know me, if I have an opinion, I'm going to troll, and I'm going to troll hard. But Yeah, I don't want this guy on the team. I like what's going on. Look at the first line. Look at the second line. Again, what do I want? I want beef.
Hey, where's the beef?
I'm sorry, Sam, but we don't need. We have plenty of beef. We have plenty. You know, you might have Nathan Bastian making the team.
Yeah, I know, but
he's beefy. He's beefy. He's probably wearing.
What is he going to play? 5 games? Where are you going to fit him? 5-10 games of beef?
He's in fourth line right wing. That fourth line right wing is wide open. Wide open. I mean, Joey Anderson did not do enough last year to convince me that he's an NHL player right now.
Where are you going to fit this KHLer? That's what I'm going to call him. This KHLer. Where are you going to fit him in the Devils lineup?
Oh, easy. He's second line. He's second line left wing. You move Jesper Bratt to first line right wing. You move Kyle Palmieri down to second line right wing. You have two. You have one immensely skilled player.
Where's the Wayne Train?
Wayne Train should not be in the top 6. Wayne Simmons should not be in the top 6. Absolutely not.
Okay, so where would you put the Wayne Train?
I'm putting Wayne. Line? I mean, I've continuously said that when you have 4 centers like Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, Travis Zajac, and Pavel Zacha, you can't run a traditional 4-line lineup where the first line plays 20 minutes, the second line plays 18 minutes, the third line plays 15 minutes, and the fourth line plays 10 minutes. That doesn't work when you have 4 centers that good. You need to stretch it out a little bit more, especially when you have Taylor Hall coming off a major injury to his knee. You don't want to overwork him. You don't want to, overwork players like Nico Hischier and Hughes in his first year. And people are going to hate me for saying this, and I'm going to write an article at some point this summer talking about this, and I'm going to get hate for it because, that's how the internet works. You get hate. But I think the Devils are primed to change the game and play 4 lines with closer, I don't want to say equal time, because that top 6 should definitely play a lot more than that bottom 6. But when I say a lot more, I'm talking about 18 and 17 minutes against 14 and 13 minutes. And, if you put the Wayne Train on a line with Pavel Zacha and off the top of my head, whoever, one of the many prospects, say Jesper Boquist makes the team. Then you got speed, grit, size, shooting, all on that line, and that's your last line, or whatever you want to call it in this lineup. Then you got the defensive line, which is Wood, Coleman, Zajac. Or say you wanted to flip. Say you wanted Boquist on that Zajac and Coleman line, you put Wood. Then you got just you want to say Train, you put Wood and Zacha and Simmons together. I mean, you put Jack Hughes out there, you bring him back. When somebody wants to bully him, you put the Simmons and Wood and Zacha line. They're gonna look like natural disasters from 1980s wrestling. Like, it's going to be ridiculous. They're going to be powerbombing people on the ice.
Is Zacha considered beef?
I think he's big. He's got
size. He's got size, but size doesn't mean anything if you don't use it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, he's the least beefy of that trio. But I'm saying, Wood's 2 seconds away from drop kicking people on the ice, and Wayne Simmons he's just a guy who could knock somebody out.
I'll even say something even controversial because Chris Tynan, I disagree with you. Marner would cost 4 firsts plus whatever his contract is. Not interested. You know what? I'll go out on a limb. I'd do it. I would give up 4 first rounders for Marner. I totally would. You know why? Because he's proven and he's getting into his prime.
No. See, I'm going to start calling you Sam Lou because you're making Lou moves right now. You're making Lou moves. Sam Lou. What are you doing? What are you doing, Sam Lou?
I haven't done it in a while, but I used to do a pretty decent Lou impression, but I haven't practiced in a while, so I'm not going to even try. But no, seriously. Look, the Devils don't have to do it. They just don't. Like, why do you have to do it?
All right. Well, how about this? What if I told you that they can get him in exchange for only Michael McLeod and taking on Clarkson's contract? They get a first-round pick who's a prospect. It builds up the Chicago Bulls, what they desperately need.
Can't do it. I wouldn't do it because we need our co-host Beer Baron. He'd be crying all night long. He'd be crying the entire season. No, can't do it. No, seriously. That sounds reasonable. That sounds reasonable. Again, look at this team. Like, you don't want to do too much, but I will say though, you do make a good point, and I'll give you some props here. You want to talk about the depth. If you add this KHLer, which I'll call, I don't even want to call him Goose or anything. Call him a KHL until he proves something in the NHL. But yeah, you know what happened to Goose in Top Gun? Yeah, that's right. Anyway, so what I want to say is what I've noticed over the last 4 years, John Hines, the Devils head coach, which I'm shocked he hasn't been fired, but he is a very good coach, okay? But with those type of records, you know, but yeah, I know. I'm a little bit all over the place. It's July 3rd, okay? His practices can be very hard, and he's always on the gas pedal. And sometimes I wonder, as a coach, is he really pushing them too hard at times, where they're just worn out, where they just don't have a lot? Like, oftentimes it almost seems like they don't have the stamina, and these guys are in great shape. You know, they have a great first period, and then the second, just like, it just is down. Like, it's almost like they don't have gas, and especially in those back-to-back games. So I think your point is valid, if you want some depth, speed, this and that. But you know what? Like, maybe this is what it is. Maybe it's because I just don't understand the love fest that all these Devils fans on Twitter, on Facebook, in the Facebook groups, like Devils Diehards and other Facebook groups, like Let's Go Devils. What is the love for this guy? You don't even know him. He is a KHLer. Yeah, he's got some decent numbers, but numbers don't mean anything. Once he's playing in the NHL, the size is bigger. The speed is faster. You're on the top of the world. And on top of that, I bet you the ice is a lot crappier than it is in Russia. I'm assuming they have better ice. I mean, it is Russia, right? Don't they have just ice?
Listen, have you ever heard of a guy named Pavel Datsyuk?
Oh, yeah, but he went back to the KHL, right?
Yeah, he did.
He's dead to me. He's dead to me. He's dead to me. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. I'm just being a jerk right now because I told everybody
you are.
on Facebook Live. I told everybody on Facebook Live that I was going to troll you, but I'm done now. I'm done trolling you.
Yeah, I mean, he had a better season. He had a better season this year than. He had a great season playing alongside Pavel Datsyuk, I believe. That's what I'm seeing. And, he was learning from one of the best to ever to put on skates. Pavel Datsyuk is a great, great, great player. All right, maybe not one of the best to ever put on skates, but he's a top 20 player of this era.
That's true.
So he's learning from somebody who worked really hard. But I will say this, that I am a little worried about those John Hines. Wow. I got Jack Hughes on the brain. About those John Hines practices for a guy who's never played an NHL game, because John Hines could really weigh on a player. We got lucky because a lot of these guys have bought into it, but I think that I think that this is the right move just because, I don't know what other moves are out there. I thought William Nylander would be available, and it doesn't look like he is. I know a couple of people have been clamoring for, local boy Kevin LeBlanc to come from San Jose. I don't know if that's actually. I think they're trying to make it work. And then there's the people who want to go with the craziness of Marner and Braden Point. I think we learned the Sebastian Aho contract was kind of, an easy peasy commitment. But this guy's not going to cost 4 firsts. He's not going to cost a first. He's not going to cost a second. He's going to cost probably a middle league prospect and a middle round pick.
Do you really think he's just going to cost that much? There are other NHL teams that are going to bid on it, aren't they? It's not just the Devils.
I mean, teams can't take on money anymore. We saw it with Subban. Look what we gave up for Subban. We did that because we could take on the money. So if we could take on that full Clarkson contract, basically you're asking them to pay $9 million this year for Gusev. And is he going to be worth $9 million? Probably not. But at the same time, we're not using our cap space. It's just it's fake money that it's like your friend who's playing Monopoly with you who never buys property. He's trying to collect that free parking money every time he goes around the Monopoly board. And you're not playing the game right. You need to own assets. You need assets with the money you get from Monopoly. And I'm using my Monopoly money to buy me some Nikita Gusev.
Yeah, well, I hate to pay hotel repairs, in that game, but anyway. But yeah, so I don't know. Let's ask social media, Twitter, Periscope. We've got a lot of people on. I mean, it's a Wednesday night before July 4th. What are you? It's 10 p.m. Eastern. What are you guys doing? Shouldn't you be doing something?
It's the day before 4th of July.
It's the day before 4th of July.
Nobody's doing anything. Going out right now. Everybody's waiting.
Everybody's on the phone.
Do you know, Sam? Sam, there's going to be 49 million people who are driving more than 50 miles tomorrow. So not only do we have all these people on social media, but we're getting those sweet iTunes downloads tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. I'll put it up after the podcast. And also, don't forget, we're also on Spotify. We're also on iHeartRadio, the iHeart app. We're everywhere. And actually, our downloads actually has gone crazy since the Jack Hughes draft and the PK Subban trade. Our numbers are through the roof, and honestly, everyone, we really appreciate the support we're getting. I've been getting a ton of emails lately.
People still do that?
Yeah. Sam at letsgodevils.com. If you want to email me, you can email me anything. I may not respond to you, but you can email me anything. I get trade rumors now. When you do this podcast, suddenly I got inside information on certain things. It's pretty cool. But you know what?
Yeah.
You have to trust, but half of the times I can't even verify, so I won't talk about it on the podcast. So, but anyway, but I do text you, Nick, sometimes, some ideas.
I mean, I got the finger on the pulse. I got the finger on the pulse.
Yep.
There's so many. There's over. We've passed 100 comments, Sam, on Facebook. On Facebook alone, we got a couple of Twitter comments. We got some things on YouTube. It's man, it's hard to keep track of all these.
You know what? I understand that, but just remember one thing. So don't sound like a hypocrite. Just like I talk about Gusev and his KHL numbers, just like our comment numbers, they're just numbers. What do they mean? The bottom line is you got to win. You got to win. It's also the team chemistry part. There's just sometimes, you know what? Here, let's go back to cliches. Trust the process, right? We want to trust the process. You want to take a process-oriented approach, one step at a time. Is it doing too much too soon by getting this guy? Yes, I understand the argument of low risk, but at the same time, let's see how this team does at first. Could you make a trade for him later?
Yeah.
And if he's not available, guess what? You didn't have to make the trade. I know that the Rangers got Panarin. Boy, I'd like to know who drove up the price. Like, who really drove up the price? I have my ideas, my suspicions. But, man, is that a big contract. Then I saw Mike Lucci posted something, or he retweeted, the cap friendly. Is that true? Like 99% of it is like signing bonus money, and 1 million is like base salary.
Hey,
like,
I think it's 1 million base salary. I was trying to find this out yesterday. Is he the highest paid player in the league next year? Like, straight money wise, I had to double check. I think it was Kopitar. But I got to double check.
Well, he has to be. I'll tell you the reason why. Well, probably the bottom line, because you've got to think that the taxes in Edmonton are a lot more for Connor McDavid than, well, maybe not so. I mean, he's in New York, but I would assume New York's taxes are a little bit lower. But in the end, I think Connor McDavid's still making more, but not by much. But then again, I don't know. I didn't really look at the numbers. Let's ask Facebook Live and Twitter, like, who's making more? I haven't looked at capfriendly.com. We should have the fine folks at Cap Friendly on the State of the Fan address.
Oh,
we should go
on that. They're good peoples.
Yeah.
But anyway, we digress. Back to Gusev, because that's all we should talk about tonight. We had a whole lineup, and we haven't even had Mike on, and we're 38 minutes of Gusev.
Well, see, that's our fault, Is
it though?
It's a polarizing thing right now, where it's just people, Devils fans, whether you're for them or against them, have lost their minds. They have lost their minds. Others like, oh, get him. Did we get Gusev yet? Did we get the goose? Did Ray lay an egg? Come on, Ray. Ray Shero knows what he's doing. I like what he's doing. I've bought into the patient approach. I wish there are times where he wasn't too patient, but right now I like the process right now. You got the first overall pick. You pick a generational player, and then the next day you get a former Norris Trophy winner that's 30 years old, and he's fired up, and he's coming to Jersey. And by the way, he did call it Taylor Ham twice, maybe 3 times in that video. That's a little side note.
He's
there.
new. New people are uneducated, Sam.
Oh, yeah, so is Nikita Gusev.
We got to leave it. We got to leave it for the Porco podcast.
New. Yeah, we would have to do, like, it may have to be a live event status in the summer, since
can we do it at Hobby's Deli for the reopening of Hobby's Deli?
You know what? They're already reopened. A matter of fact, I actually tweeted them, and they're all for us doing a podcast at Hobby's Deli, and I do believe they call it pork roll there. But you know what? Let me talk to the guys over there. We should do a podcast. So since the Devils aren't doing a Devils Beach Bash, one day we should go to Hobby's Deli, set up the podcast, have some great Taylor ham. For those that kiss their sisters, you can have some great pork roll over there, okay? But, yeah, because it's all about supporting the community. And everybody, everyone in Newark that I've run into have been pretty cool to me. Last 10 years, going to the games, I've never had a problem with anybody, other than opposing, fans are mouthing off to you, particularly Ranger and Flyer fans. Although Flyer fans have tamed it down a little bit because, coming from going Turnpike North, I think they're a little intimidated by Newark, but it has toned down quite a bit. But anyway, yeah, let's do it at Hobby's Deli. Maybe they have goose meat. Maybe they have goose meat there.
Well, maybe that'll be the Gusev sandwich when he gets traded to the Devils. They bring him there, Nico style. I was asking, when does Jack Hughes get his sandwich? I'm confused. What's going to be on the Hughes sandwich? Is it going to be just a grilled American cheese, all American cheese, so a little white American, a little yellow American? Just it'll be an all American sandwich.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so again, getting back. Look, if you're going to give up a 7th rounder and this guy's going to cost $2 million, maybe. Then to me, it's like, all right, whatever. At least let's get to the cap floor. Type move. But
we're already there. The Wayne train got us to the cap floor. We're there. We're a cap floor team.
Hey, you know what? You can say what you want about the New Jersey Devils. They are the salary cap champions last couple of years. But I will say, though, remember back in the day when they first instituted the cap, and remember when Lou had so much trouble keeping them under that $39 million cap, and then Vladimir Malakoff decides to go skiing. He's like, yep, you're retired. And use that obscure rule that didn't count against the cap. I mean, that was just amazing. I mean, that was Lou Lamoriello, or that donut incident back in '88. Getting a restraining order, like to hold the suspension. I mean, come on, who does that?
This is that's like some George Steinbrenner stuff. Early Lou is like George Steinbrenner.
Oh, I know.
Anyway, I've been looking at some of the Facebook comments. A lot of people want, they're asking me about, asking us about other players, mostly on the free agency, that are still out there, because we had the quietest last 2 days. After everything went crazy on that first day, I've seen some people ask about Marcus Johansson. I'm flat out no on Marcus Johansson. I'm sorry. Mojo was great while he was here. So that. But he didn't end up being worth the 2nd and 3rd round pick. Yes, it was because of injuries, and yes, it was because of his now teammate Brad Marchand with the people's elbow, from the top rope. It was like Macho Man out there hitting him, and of course no penalty was called because Boston. But facts are facts. This guy's had multiple concussions, and I'm worried, and I wouldn't want to give him $5 million with term. So I'm going to say no on him. Ferland, decent. He's fine. But I don't think fine fits on this team. If we're going to go with fine, I'd rather give Anderson or Boquist or Bastian or McLeod or, maybe even Marian Studenik, one of those players a shot to make this roster rather than going with somebody who's fine. So I'm a no on Ferland. And then there's the Brian Boyle aspect. And I don't hate the Brian Boyle aspect. I think he has a spot on this team, and I say the same thing about Patrick Maroon. I didn't say anybody bring up Maroon, but we do know that Maroon said he liked working with Shero. So maybe that's something that Ray Shero is working on, but I don't know. But you know what? These
guys, Boyle, and Maroon, they have 2 things in common. One, they're going to cost money. They're going to cost money, and it goes back to, if you got this goose on your team, you still want to have cap space to be leveraging, because that's what Ray's been doing the last few years.
Sam, we have $20 million.
Hey, where's the beef?
You could buy a lot of beef with $20 million. You could get 10 Brian Boyles with $20 million.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I just don't want to. You know what? I just don't want to see too many healthy scratches. I want these guys playing. I want I hate to admit it. I want McLeod to find his game, for crying out loud. Like, it's gotten so bad with Beer Baron that every week we just rip him apart. I want to see this guy rip 40 goals in one season and Beer Baron just gloating for a season right in our faces. Because you know why? because these young kids like McLeod and all their success is our success, the Devils fan. Because once these guys are pumping goals and pumping assists, guess what? Those Ranger and Flyer fans out there, those Cap fans, those pests from Pittsburgh, those Penguins fans, and I'll even say the BJs because they won't, a BJs fan actually commented on the podcast. I hope you guys are relevant because I miss having you guys be a competitor. But anyway, that's it. I want the young kids to succeed, and it's just okay. You acquire a guy. Yeah, sometimes there's a need to do that to get that competition going, but there's already enough competition. Like, how many more players do you need to sign? I want to see these young kids skate, and I want to see speed.
So go to Binghamton. Go to Binghamton and watch them skate because they're going to get all of the time in the world to go to Binghamton and skate. I mean, that bingo team was terrible last year, and it could be actually pretty good this year if you keep those young guys there, give them another year to develop under a good coach there. And I think that I think that the Devils will be better off in the long run if for at least half the season. So you got a couple injuries. You got Anderson, McLeod, Bastion, Studenik, that's just off the top of my head. Josh Jacobs could be all right in a couple of years. You got all these players growing in Binghamton, building their confidence because they're scoring goals. You need guys. Sometimes you get spooked in the NHL. Look what happened to Quenneville. Quenneville now we had to send him out for John Hayden, and I honestly don't know where John Hayden fits in this team. That's something that we haven't talked about. I don't know where this guy's going to fit, even now. Because if you don't get Gusev, I think that's the spot that Boquist is going to take. And if you have Boquist on this team, I guess Hayden's a healthy scratch. I guess he's whatever.
Again, that's why I want to see these guys moving. I want to see them moving. But my little concern is, if you remember that terminology back years ago when the Devils were a well-oiled machine, the system, the trap, the terminology, interchangeable parts, Jay Pandolfo, Sergei Brelin, John Madden, steady, reliable, good. Is that what Ray's doing right now? Stockpiling? Do you think they should start stockpiling? I just, again, I don't want too many players, but you may need it because of Hines. He drives them to the ground. There's a lot of injuries at times. Is it better just to let these kids just develop instead of just adding just for the sake of adding?
It's not for the sake of adding, though. We're not, I just named off 5 guys that, that I'm not really looking to add. Like I said, it was maybe a Boiler or a Maroon, but, I don't want Ferland just because he's out there. I don't want Mojo just because he's out there. There's a lot of guys we could just add because we have the money. I just
feel that the hysteria on social media from Devils fans, I just feel that 70% of those reactions is because Panarin went to the Rangers. And suddenly it's like, this is plan B somehow. Plan B. You know what? I'll tell you what. We got to get Mike Lucci on the phone. We got to get him on the horn. We got to get him on the Bobby's Auto Care hotline. So what I'm going to do is I have to step away from the camera to call this guy. And Nick, I'm going to go full screen to you and look at the comments because I think you need to read them out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm pretty good at talking to myself. So this is This is probably one of my strong suits. I really love me some me. So it's going to be me in the Facebook comments now. Looking right now, John B says he still has faith in Mikey. I still do too. I don't think we need to trade Mikey McLeod because he's going to be bad. He had a rough start, but he has a lot of the tools. He reminds me of how Miles Wood was that first year. And then that first year Wood was just unplayable. And now Wood, he was a 19-goal scorer in that second year. And I think Mikey McLeod could be a similar type player. He's got similar skill set with the speed and the stick. His stick is not caught up with the speed yet, and that's his biggest problem. But John, that's how I feel about Mikey. And David Holiday, Mojo is done. Oh, that hurts. Somebody's going to give him a $5 million contract, and it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt them because I don't think he's done. I think he has some formidable years left, but I don't think it's worth the risk for the Devils. He's not the same kind of risk that Gusev is. Mojo is a risk because one more hit, and it's a Ryan Close situation. It's sad to say because he seems like a good locker room guy. He seems like a good teammate, but every time he'd get injured and then he'd come back, and it'd still take him like 5 or 6 games to get back to game shape. Sometimes even as much as 10. And so see what happens when he went to the Bruins. It just took him a while to get to that place. Steven Tobias tells me that Maroon's going to stay in St. Louis. I don't think he is. I think that if he was going to stay in St. Louis, they would have opened up the money to give it to him right now because St. Louis doesn't win that Stanley Cup without Maroon. Maroon scored that series-winning overtime goal. Oh, how quickly we forget. Ryan O'Reilly may have won the Play of MVP trophy, but yeah, you're not there without Maroon, and it doesn't sound like he's coming back. John B also says that Breland is the most underrated Devil of all time. I'm not on the Breland train. I'm sorry, John. I liked Breland as a player. I think the most underrated Devil of all time was Bobby Holik, but I'm biased. I thought that kid was just so perfect for that era. He was hard-nosed. He was like a better version of Clarkson. And I think he never got his due because he went to the Rangers and went for the money. But man, that kid was so good. Let's see, what else are we saying here? More stuff about we got Sam back, but it's more stuff about free agency. I don't. John also commenting about Hall. Same with Hall. One more knee injury. That's it. That's not true. Like knees regenerate, knees get better. The technology that's come with knees, and especially with the arthroscopic surgery, I don't even think maybe I'm wrong, but I don't even think that Taylor Hall's injury was as bad as they made it seem. I think they just took the ultra careful approach because the season was over by the time he was hurt. Maybe I think if they were in the playoff race, I think he comes back in a month or two, unless they misdiagnosed it. Because look at when he got his surgery. He got his surgery a month and a half after he missed a game. So I think that I'm not that worried about Taylor Hall's knee injury at all. Welcome back, Sam.
Yeah, is the Facebook Live okay? I don't know. I don't know if we lost the feed or not. Can't tell.
It's working on my computer. I'm looking at it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I see a gray. I don't know. Anyway, guess who we have? I brought some reinforcements to my argument not to get this guy, the Goose. He's from Pucks and Pitchforks. He actually wrote a blog about it. The one and only Mike Lucci on the Bobby's Auto Care hotline. Mike, I need some reinforcements here. I'm getting killed on social media. Nick is doing some jabbing. What are your thoughts on this guy Gusev?
Well, first off, guys, I'm happy for it. Thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to be speaking with you guys. I just want to say that the degree of fanaticism that Devils fans are exhibiting for this guy, I think the best thing I could compare it to is if Jim Jones and the People's Temple had a Facebook group. I think that degree of fanaticism is the only thing I could equate to what I've been seeing about this guy over the past couple of days. My thing with the whole Gusev, my thing with the whole Gusev situation is I really think it's just an instance of people being awestruck by seeing big numbers and player stats without really delving much into some of the other intangibles that go into it. B, you really hit the nail on the head, Sam. I really think a lot of it too is just very reactionary in response to the New York Rangers signing Artemi Panarin. I just think people want Ray Shero to make a move for the sake of making a move to combat that. And, a lot of it reminds me, too, of the 2012 offseason after the Devils lost Parise. Do you remember there was that growing effort among Devils fans, this kind of like hysteria demand that they sign, Alexander Semin immediately after Zach Parise left? That's kind of, too, what it reminds me of. So that's kind of where I sort of stand on it right now overall.
Yeah, I mean, I could see where you're coming from, and I've told you this, and I fought for your point when you wrote the article because we got some hate when we put that article out. There was some hate.
Oh, I'm surprised.
But haters gotta hate. So, but I'll tell you this: that my point is, we're not going to spend this money. There's no way we can, there's no way we're going to spend this money on others. You're not going to get a better risk for $4 million. Every player you take is a risk. There's some that are a lot smaller risks than others, but for $4 million and what you're going to give up for them, you don't think it's worth it to see if this kid has something?
Not necessarily. And these are, look, if we could get him for a bargain, for a bargain price, all right, I'll be like, if the Devils want to getting him, I'll be like, all right, whatever, I sincerely hope I'm wrong about him. But my thing is, why are you investing so much hope, pretty much assuring this guy a pivotal role on our team in our top six, who hasn't even played an NHL game? The one question I've been asking, some of these some Devils fans that are pretty much rabid over getting this guy is, beside Artemi Panarin, and listen word for word how I ask this question. Beside Artemi Panarin, name me another KHL player in recent memory who spent their developmental years in the KHL without any previous NHL experience that came over to the NHL and continued a successful career. In recent memory, mind you. Not someone who started in the NHL, played a bit in the KHL, and came back like Alex Radulov or someone like that. I mean, someone who had absolutely zero NHL experience, is, at that mature point in his career, spent their entire developmental years in the KHL and came over to the NHL, made an NHL debut at, 26, 27, 28, whatever, and went on to have a successful NHL career in recent memory. So so maybe as far back as the statement of the salary cap. Like, name one other person.
So I'm going to be honest. I don't know a ton about the KHL in general. I think Radulov. I think it's unfair to take Radulov off because he wasn't. He got into a contract dispute and he did spend his formative years in the KHL, and now he's dominating and he's playing out of this world for the Stars. So, I know he did technically start his career here, but he didn't do anything in that first spell, anything of note. So I'm going to steal that example, and I'm going to say that should count. But this is...
he got 24 goals his first year of bachelor. He got almost... I think he led them in scoring that year before.
I understand that. No, he was. I'm not saying he was a bad player and he didn't show signs that he was going to continue to be good, but I'm saying that he spent his former years in the KHL comparatively to these other players talk about like Jágr or whatever, who played an entire career basically in the NHL, went back to the KHL and then is coming back. I think that Radulov, he could have gained those bad habits that you see a lot of these players. But Gusev is a different story entirely because he was a 7th round pick. So usually 7th round picks do take a long time to make it to the show, whether that's playing in the AHL, whether that's starting in juniors, then moving to, whatever leagues that you have to do to make it there, or whether it's a guy who spends 4 years at college. Some of these guys take some time, especially, like I said, a 7th round pick. Now,
Sure.
The only difference is, and this goes to your point, is at least all those players are playing on an NHL regulation sized ice. And the game does play a similar way, even though it's a lot slower. But I mean, I look at this kid and I look at the skill set that he has, and I'm going to tell you why I think that the Devils need this guy. And it's one specific thing. It's not the scoring. It's not his lightning quick, style, and it's not his passing and his distribution. It's his zone entries. The Devils don't have a lot of players that can take the puck into the zone. Right now, they have Hall, Hischer on most nights, maybe Hughes. Obviously, he's in a similar situation where we need to see him do it in the NHL. That's it. I need a guy who can bring the puck in the zone.
All right, I get that, but on your point, just to sort of like respond to that, instead of investing in someone who has zero NHL experience, I'm sure there are plenty of other trade options out there where you could get a player that could address that problem. And to sort of follow up on your point when you mentioned how we dominated the KHL, it's something that Sam Wu brought up earlier on the podcast. So, when you compare the quality of competition in the KHL and the NHL, you're essentially comparing apples to oranges. The KHL, it's pretty much kind of how people tout the NBA to be. You have your 2, 3, 4 dominant teams, and then there's this huge drop off with all the subpar mediocre teams. Essentially, it's the same 3 or 4 teams that just dominate the league year in, year out. And I think I'm not sure which one specifically it is, but yeah, I think Gusev is on one of those top KHL teams. And just to build on that, Stan mentioned too this. In addition to the level of the competition, there's the physicality element too. There's that, and just there's lots of the aspect of acclimating as well. This guy spent, I think, 9 seasons in the This guy spent 9 seasons in the KHL, just sticking to that specific style of hockey. This guy comes to NHL. I think he's going to be in for a rude awakening. According to websites like Hockey Reference and NHL.com, Gusev is listed as 5'9" inches, 5'9" inches in height. Now, granted, the NHL has provided, there's a lot more opportunity for these smaller, undersized players to thrive in the NHL nowadays. My only concern with that is if you fully commit, invest in these players, if you trust them to make them facilitate a deep playoff run. I mean, look at how look at how teams of this year's playoffs, or the last couple of playoffs that have these, small, speed, skilled players wind up faring, mainly when they, especially when they come up against, big physical teams. Toronto Maple Leafs the last 3 years, for example, they've, faced off against, big physical teams like the Boston Bruins, Washington Capitals. They haven't been able to get past the first round. Tampa Bay Lightning is another example. I mean, with the exception of Steven Stamkos, but, they pretty much just got out hit by the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think that was a huge factor too, why they got kicked off in the first round of the playoffs. And a lot of their guys, like Brigham Point being one of the prime examples. It was pretty much non-existent in that series. So that's just one of my that's like another concern I have over committing to a guy like Gusev.
Yeah, I mean, you're making decent points. You obviously have done your research. I honestly, when I say he dominated the KHL, I like how he looked against other players. in the video that I've seen. But what I've really paid attention to more, because I'm with you, where I'm not a big KHL translates to NHL kind of guy. But when I looked at what he did in the Olympics, when I look at what he did in the World Championships this past year, and I know the Olympics was against, nobody's, I guess. Brian Gianto was the biggest name at the Olympics. And Russia won for a reason, but he still scored 12 points in 6 games. And last year in this past World Championships, he had 16 points in 10 games. So, the World Championships had, he was playing alongside Nikita Kucherov, and, that probably helped. I will admit that. I'm not asking this guy to be a first-line guy. I'm not saying that we're trading this guy to play alongside Taylor Hall or to replace Taylor Hall or anything like that. I'm asking this guy to be a middle 6 forward who's going to score 50 points. And I think he has a skill set to be a 15 and 35 guy, 15 goals, 35 assists. And, when you look at it, that would have led the Devils last year. Obviously injuries had a lot to do with that, but the Devils have just had a trouble getting consistent scoring. And when you have a chance to get a guy who can consistently score for, helping out another team's prospect system, who's on the West Coast, and that's never going to really be a problem for you, I think this is a no-brainer.
So one of the things I want to circle back to is how you mentioned how he played and how he dominated the KHL. He dominated in the Olympics and whatnot. Again, though, that's the international European style of play that they, to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure that's basically the same style of play that they play out in the KHL. One of my biggest concerns in that regard with this guy, with Gusev, is he's never played an extended period of time, an extended period of games. He's never played the North American style of hockey that they play in the NHL. So I feel like if we don't have if we don't have a sort of sample size of him playing in that type of scenario, it's not so much, it's not even a high risk to take it. I would even go as far as to say that it might be even a bit of a, it might be an instance of just outright recklessness, make my kind of commitment to someone like that.
Okay. I mean, listen, I'm on the Goose train. I'm not as much on the Goose train as some of our other writers and some of the Devils fans who said some mean things to us. You know that. I understand there are major risks involved with getting a guy who's never played an NHL game. But I think that the Devils are in a place where they need to take a risk. And if they go, what are you doing, Sam? Oh my God. I think if you go to Hall and you say, hey, we didn't overpay for a guy like Panarin who's gonna, possibly make more money than you or something like that. And we didn't ruin our cap for the next couple of years, but you said you wanted talent. We got one of the best talents out there. Now, yes, he's smaller and he has to get used to that. And he has to get used to playing an NHL-style game while also getting up to the NHL-style speed and also getting hit by NHL players. Yes, he's not going to score 10 goals in the first month. But I could see him scoring 8 goals in December or 7 goals in January or how about 10 goals in the playoffs? Maybe. I don't know. But I'm just saying that this is the kind of guy that could go on a hot streak and ruin other teams.
So I get that, and what was it? I was gonna, So
the key word was there. Sorry, Mike. I just want to say the key word is could.
Yeah,
he could, but we don't know. Go ahead, Mike.
Sure.
Sorry.
No, that's cool. But at the same time, though, you could apply that same word could to a lot of situations next year. Taylor Hall could come back and get 100 points, or at the same time, Taylor Hall could skate his first game, blow his knee out, and miss the entire season. I don't doubt he is a very talented player in the circumstances settings, like international KHL style play. I'm definitely not denying that, but when he comes into the NHL, though, he becomes more or less an unproven talent. So with that said, why, it just circles back to the question I asked earlier. If Devils fans are so willing to commit to, this effort of wanting to bring this guy into Newark, why are they so focused on him when there are plenty of other proven NHL talents out there that could simply be acquired by the same means via trade? Even right now on Las Vegas, for example, look, they're still a few $1 million over the cap right now. Gusev, he doesn't even have a cap hit, I don't think, to my knowledge. So, why not try and trade for someone like Alex Chuk, or one of these RFAs out there like LeBlanc, or even someone look, a lot of Shearer's high profile acquisitions are players that we don't even talk about, or we talk about, but we don't even expect them to get. Someone like Michael Nylander to even go that far, or I'm trying to think of someone that maybe someone on maybe like a forward on a cap crunch team like the Calgary Flames or the St. Louis Blues. Why not invest all this energy into going after an NHL player, an established NHL player with who's proven that they could maintain that they maintain that high level of talent, playing that North American style of hockey that's played in the NHL over the last couple of years. That's one of the things that's really kind of mind-boggling to me right now.
Yeah, well, Mike, I don't think we're going to come to a conclusion. I think we're just going to talk in circles, and we got to give the people what they want. So we're getting to the end. So I just wanted to thank you, Mike, for coming on and giving your side, giving the Devils Nation the contrarian opinion. I don't believe you. I think you're wrong, but I do appreciate you coming and giving me that Taylor Ham opinion.
I appreciate you guys. letting me be heard. Thanks for having me on.
All right, talk to you later, Mike.
That is Mike Lucci on the Bobby's Auto Care hotline, stating his case, giving me the reinforcement against you, Nick, and the people on the internet, on social media. It was just wonderful points. Look, we can beat a dead horse all night long, but really, his success is our success, Ray Shero. If he makes the move, I just hope that he gets value out of that trade. So in the end, we're all Devils fans here, and we can agree to disagree. But yeah, Mike made a compelling argument, wrote a blog about it. I kind of agree. But Nick, you made some great points as well. The speed, what he can bring to the table, but still, when there is the word could, and after Panarin was signed by the New York Rangers with a monster contract, I thought it was a little bit of overreaction by New Jersey Devils fans. But at the same time, fans in the Facebook group, YouTube Live, and Twitter Periscope are making very valid points for the Goose. So, with that said, Nick, this was a hell of a podcast. On July 3rd, we're about an hour and 15 minutes away from midnight. July 4th, the birth of the United States. A long time ago. Lou Lamoriello was still around back then. He was just
he fought alongside George in the he was fighting in the Battle of Tom's River, I heard.
Yeah, he actually fed Paul Revere's horse, and also when George Washington was crossing the Delaware, it was Lou that knew how to skate across the Delaware River in that December 24th, 25th midnight invasion of the Redcoats, the Lobsterbacks, the British. Anyway, all
I think Sam, we had other things on the docket. We really did, but this ended up being the Gusev podcast. And you know what? I think I'm pleased with this becoming the Gusev podcast.
Yeah, you know what? When we did our pre-production meeting, pretty much over text message. Again, this is just like the Let's Go Devils podcast, heard every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern. That we just run with it. We run with it. We're prepared, but we run with it. And it keeps our opinions honest. It keeps you engaged, you, the Devils fans. We invite you to our conversations. And this is what I love about this new format, this podcast, the State of the Fan Address. You know, Pucks and Pitchforks, powered by Fansided. Joining hands to talk Devils hockey. And you may be our late shift guy. You know what we should start thinking about is a State of the Fan Address podcast, reactionary after games. It's kind of tough when there's 82 games and this and that, and we're going against Erica Wachter and Bryce Salvador and the good folks at MSG or anything that a little extra that Chico and Matt Laughlin, aren't doing on the Devils Hockey Radio Network. But this is great to have the fans come out, listen, talk Devils hockey, and
so can we tell them? Are we gonna lock down this Wednesday? Is this the Wednesday delight?
Yeah. No,
all right. So every Wednesday throughout the summer, it's gonna be me and Sam Lou. Lou's gonna trade your favorite player in a first round pick for a guy who's not good anymore. Lou.
All right. Well, yeah, if that starts to go viral and people call me Sam Lou at the Devils game, then you and I are going to have to talk. Outside.
I'm going to make this a thing. But then you could go into the stands and you could trade fans to other seats, make it worse. It's like, oh, I got a deal for you. I'm going to send you to 324. And they're like, what? I'm at 124. It's like, yeah, but it's a higher number. You get the higher number.
Sam what happened? You just came back from your ski vacation like Vladimir Malkov? Okay, you're out of here. You're retired. I don't want your debt to me.
Let's not kick out fans. No, let's keep the fans we have.
You got a problem with the refs? You got a problem with the refs? You got a problem with my coach saying that you're a fat pig and go eat a donut? No, I'll get a restraining order. You lose against the Flyers in the playoffs? Yeah, I'll throw a jar of jelly. Yeah.
Yeah, the Lou stories are amazing.
Yeah. Should we pay this player? Should I pay this fan some bucks? No, we don't have the money. Yeah. You can go walk. Find another team.
Yeah, I mean that was that was the old owner's fault too. This is what happens when you let a fan, become the owner. And I loved having him as the owner because he loved the Devils as much as any of us. But man, we needed some money.
Yeah. I mean, I wish Joshua Harris had the personality of Mark Cuban with that much money and being that dedicated fan team. It was just awesome. One of these days I got to track him down. I would love to have a one-on-one conversation podcast with Jeff Vanderbeek because
that would be great.
That would be really just an awesome podcast. For the fact is, you're a fan. You did everything you could to keep the team in Jersey. The big move to Prudential Center, going against all odds, making it to the Stanley Cup Finals, going through all the difficulties that you had to endure because of that move, would make a great podcast. We'll have to track down Jeff Vanderbeek soon. But anyway, we want to thank all the listeners, viewers, tuning in to the State of the Fan Address, episode 11. Should the Devils trade for Nikita Gusev? I don't know. But till next time, let's go Devils! Good